Hello and welcome to Update by Vegeconomist. My name is Nadine Filko, and for the next 45 minutes, I'm going to navigate you through, deep tech, if you want so. Actually, we're always talking about isolated topics, and today we're scratching at the surface of artificial intelligence, which is like a topic that goes straight through the whole supply chain. With me here today, we have Lia Calucci, CEO, Food Campus Berlin. We have Peter Riegler-Nuscher, Area Manager, Josephine Research. And actually Gerrit Feuerriegel wanted to be here. And I'm really, really happy that we have Saul Abrahams instead, because Gerrit unfortunately couldn't be here. He is Vice President of Business Development, AKA Foods. Welcome, guys. I'm really, really, keen to know what you know about artificial intelligence and how it touches your work. Lia, would you maybe want to start and tell us a bit more how it touches your work, and also, like, do you have any kind of AI moment that made you jump into the field?
Thank you, Nadine, for the intro, and welcome everyone also from my side. Just one sentence or two sentences maybe to set the stage and to understand who we are and what we do at Food Campus. So I'm the Managing Director of Food Campus Berlin. We're building a big innovation center here in Berlin. You see in image the rendering behind me. It doesn't exist yet. It's still in the making, but our big vision is really to create a one-stop solution for the food transformation, for the food system transition. And why do we believe that it needs one place? If you look at the tech world, everyone thinks of Silicon Valley. When you think of the finance world, you think of Wall Street, or in Germany, of Frankfurt or Manhattan, as it's also sometimes called. But when you think of the future of food, not that one place exists yet. There are already very good innovation hubs popping up, or that exist around Wageningen and around Saul, you can share a bit on the Israeli ecosystem, but our big vision is really to create the place for collaboration within the food industry in Germany. And that's our big picture thinking. And we are building different competence hubs within that framework. And one is around AI and AI applications within food. And that can range from AI in agriculture, smart farming. We have an expert on that here with us today in terms of AI within R&D processes. Saul is also a real expert, so we can deep dive into these different topics, or AI applications to optimize supply chain, within food service, within gastronomy. There's so many different innovation fields that AI can disrupt and also help make more efficient and more sustainable. So that's one big area that within the Food Campus we're going to be looking at. And you asked what got me into the topic. I think I don't have that one moment that got me into AI, but I have one moment that really triggered my perspective on AI. And for that, I would like to share an image. Let me just quickly see if it works. Can you guys see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. So in 2022, when Delhi, when OpenAI released Delhi, the picture generating tool, they have AI, of course. I prompted it to create a picture of my favorite breakfast. So yogurt with some berries and fruits. And this is the picture I got. And you see, it still looks quite artificial and not really real. And then I asked it, let's see. No. Sorry. Can you
Take
see
your
it?
time. Yeah, there's something new.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know why sorry. Anyway, that's not really working what I wanted to do. Okay, you see it's small here, right?
Yeah.
So, and then 2 months later, I asked it to generate the same picture again. And you guys can guess which one is the real picture versus the AI generated one. The one on the left is the AI generated one, but the one on the right is the real one. And the beauty is, I mean, what really showed that to me, sorry, I'm like trying to fix this while I talk. Why am I sharing this? You cannot see the screen anymore, right?
No. Right, yeah.
Okay. Technical issues here. Anyway, so you saw the first picture and you saw the second edition just 2 months later. And why I'm showing this is because you see the increase in quality that it generated, from just being very pixelated to almost looking as real as a real image. And this is a consumer AI application, but just sharing that as an example, because that really showed me that AI development is happening not linear, but exponentially. And this is really hard for the human mind to grasp, to understand how exponential growth and tech development is happening. But that really showed me we have to be on speed, and we have to see of all the different application forms we can leverage AI with. And now I'm going to hand over to one of the others.
Definitely. Thank you, Leah, for this introduction into the work of Food Campus also, and your small anecdote, how you got to know AI. Saul, you're all into product development, but you told me some interesting things before also about we don't have to fear AI. But maybe you want to say a bit more about AKA Food and also your AI moment?
Yeah, thanks. Nadine, so my background's in food technology. As a youngster, I grew up amongst food businesses, a family that was very much involved in food production, restaurants, food service, and naturally, as much as I didn't want to be in the family business, ended up studying food technology, and had the pleasure of spending 20 odd years in a confectionery and chocolate factory, which is the stuff of magic and the stuff of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and Willy Wonka and everything that dreams up. And then you hit reality, which is product development, quality control, and being inside factories. And at that point in South Africa, with technologies starting to be embraced from outside of South Africa as the country opened up, the opportunity to automate factory and production things that we were doing. So very much focused around that, and swiftly moved into software and enterprise software sales, but always with this taste and this hunger for being more connected to the food development piece. And for me, the excitement that AI brings and this opportunity with AKA Foods is bringing together the latest in technology, the thing that people are talking about every day, the thing that we're seeing in the news every day, and something that we all do every day, which is eat. So, that's, my AI moment is not an epiphany moment. It's just that being where the rubber meets the road in terms of food development and what that can bring. And, when I think of the food industry, and I think globally around what AI can offer and support us on the one hand, very grounded, and our organization is very grounded in practical solutions for the people that are, quite frankly, they own the problem. They're under pressure. It's those people in new product development or application development for our friends in ingredient companies that are under pressure to deliver products that are not only innovative, but if we think of the inflationary climate we're in at the moment, make it taste the same but reduce the price. And then the challenges that we have in plant-based food development, which are exceptional. The knowledge base is not as wide as it is in many other historical food industries. So how can we take a data-driven approach to supporting these challenges at a very practical level? And I'm happy to dive into that a bit deeper. But what I wanted to just juxtapose here is, and I think for Food Campus and the work that Peter is doing also, that he'll tell you a bit more about, is that, we're grounded in reality. We want to use the latest tools, but there's an overarching picture here, which is about sustainability, is about food security, and it's connecting those two. And as much as we have amazingly corporate and commercially driven opportunities for many industries, and in particular the food industry, where I think it's now only coming into its own in terms of the use of AI. But how do we connect that with the overarching challenges that we have, and what can AI do for that? And I think at the heart of that is possibly data, because we're in an industry that is traditionally very conservative. We coined the phrase the secret sauce. You know, the IP is around the recipe, but to improve data, opportunities to train models, and to build solutions that go beyond just commercial focus, but at a strategic, governmental, policy, global level. It's coming together with organizations like these, where we can public-private partnerships that can create a safe space of trust, where data can be shared while still protecting the IP of the individual. And we've got some interesting ways that we're looking at doing that too. But that's it from me.
Thank you so much, Saul. Peter, how about your AI moment, and what are you working on? Can you give us a bit of information on your work, please?
Thank you very much for having me. Hello, everyone. So I'm actually working on applied research in computer vision and AI for agriculture. In my background, I'm actually a computer scientist, but I have a family background in agriculture, so it natural came to go into that direction. And we are actually also doing really applied research, so we're focused on solutions that help the farmer. And their AI and robotics also are really a viable tool to solve their problems. The problems are, I think, very similar that Saul just said. It's like we want to be sustainable. We want to protect the soil. We want to be efficient and also carbon neutral. And all these challenges that agriculture is facing, their AI can help. Especially here, these also classic AI approaches like vision and robotics are really good tools. And what we see here is that we have many startups and SMEs in that sector, but they are really struggling to get on the ground and to be really successful on the market. And that's also why we started the project AgriFoodTech. It's a European project where 9 countries are involved, and we want to support these startups and SMEs that are have already their prototypes and their first solutions, but struggling on getting a good product on the market. We want to help them with our services on experimenting and testing their AI solutions. And maybe on my AI moment, I thought about it, and actually I came up with a very similar thing than Leah. Maybe but from a different facet. So it's also, again, these image generators in 22 when they came up and increased in their performance. And then we also saw like how the face of a human could be reconstructed. And I think that's really, as we as a human are perfect at interpreting someone's face, and we can really see when something's odd in a face or if it's not real. But there the first images there I saw, it was really convincing. And then I thought, okay, here we reached a new level, because it really is one of the well-developed human tasks that can be now solved with computer vision and with these diffusion models. So I was really impressed by that. And but I'm in the field so for like 10 years now. So, but this was really an important moment, I think. Yeah.
I mean, agriculture in general is the basis of our food system. And although when we're speaking about technology, people sometimes think, oh yeah, agriculture is so far away, but actually they're pushing tech. What would you say are the most important developments for agriculture? Is there could you state the three most important technologies out there at the moment and what you're working on?
Yeah. So I would say one that's really, it's tackled by many startup companies, and it's really promising, and it's really getting on the ground is these weeding applications. You see, we have the problem of all the herbicides that applied in the field, and we want to have an alternative solution to that. So one way could be to go in the direction of spot spraying. So just apply on the plant, on really spotted a really small amount on the plant. That could be one direction. That's also AI driven. And the other approach could be like mechanical weeding. And for that, you need really precise, a system that can really precise detect the plant and locate it and remove it. And there we already see the first solutions on the market that are emerging. They are very promising. On the other hand, we have not only the pressure from these herbicides, we also have the pressure from the labor market, which is really challenging in agriculture. And there, these solutions help. And they are not just implements you put on the tractor. They are also already robots that are driving around, and they're coming in agriculture. I think that's one of the main applications. The other thing that really is a strong drive also now with AI is the remote sensing from satellites, where you can monitor vast areas of agricultural field and really predict how much, now also with climate change, how much irrigation is needed on a certain area, so you can optimize the water usage, you can optimize the fertilizer, also to reduce the emissions, the greenhouse gas emissions from that side. And you can really use that on a broad scale, because it's with the satellite data that's also provided by the ESA, that's for free basically, so you can roll it out all over Europe. So it's very promising technology, I would say. Yeah.
So that's starting there where we're actually at the basis of food production. Leah, you have a bit of a broader view on the market. Are there like 3 technologies you came across where you say, okay, this is the future of sustainable food? And also, I want to know, you posted on LinkedIn that AI is like fast fashion. What do you mean with that?
So I'm going to dissect these because it's super. So one big application field I see is definitely smart farming. As Peter just said, there's so much we can do with AI-powered precision agriculture to reduce pesticides, to reduce water use, and really monitor the real-time data on the soil health, weather, etc. So I think that is one of the biggest application fields. Plus, where we have another expert here, Sol, accelerated R&D innovations. So I also in some other projects I've been involved with before the food campus, I used some of these AI tools for R&D processes, and we were able to speed up the traditional R&D process, which used to take months, up to 8-9 months, literally into 2 days. It was incredible.
Yeah.
To really, because what these tools can do, they test thousands of formulations, and they even come up with like some funky formulations that a human mind sometimes would not have thought of. And I always like the example of Natco. It's a startup from Chile. They do plant-based alternatives, and they have the nut milk, so a plant-based milk alternative. And as ingredients, they use cabbage and pineapple, which is a combination I believe the average R&D person would not have thought of, but they developed their own AI tool. They're personalizing that as well. They're calling their AI tool Giuseppe, so it has a name. And Giuseppe came up with this funky formulation, and I tried the product. It's actually really, really good. So this is, for me, is in terms of R&D, it's a huge application field. And the third, I would say, is around food waste reduction and optimizing supply chains. And there are startups like Orbisk. They are from the Netherlands. They developed a smart trash can, which is really good, for gastronomy. It monitors all the data of all the food waste that you usually just put in a trash can, and it then informs the restaurant owner or whoever is in charge of creating the menus of what is it that people are actually not liking, and it helps them reformulate their menu. So that's one thing. Or Delicious Data is a startup from Munich, and they developed an AI tool for forecasting. So 1,000 or 100 different data points go into their system, and if I'm a bakery owner, that tool allows me to really forecast the demand. Today, I'm gonna need to bake 100 bread rolls of this, 100 croissants, whatever it is. So really, with all these data points that are going into that, be able to demand forecast, and that's economically interesting for companies because it reduces the costs. And it's, you know, sustainability and efficiency, to other really important trends that are coming into that. So I could go on, but I think I'm gonna
I'll just pick up a point there, you know, from Peter and Leah, and I think, you know, Leah, you've seen some practical applications of AI in food product development, and we see that every day. And Peter, this connection to agriculture. So some of the exciting stuff that we see where the two connect is almost the historical piece in terms of, you know, farming is thousands of years old, millennia. Modern farming, and so as long as food products have been, as long as farming of ingredients have been cultivated and cultivation has taken place, then there's been the value add that is, and that value add might have started, you know, just with simple bread, but look where we are today. But the actual, you know, we see tremendous changes in approaches to farming. And then if I look at it from the food perspective and how we've developed products over the years, the one thing that hasn't changed in 100 years is that we have an hypothesis. We mix some ingredients together. Maybe we homogenize them. Maybe we grind them. Maybe we heat them. And the next day we come in and taste them. And the piece there, and that is consistent in I would say 99% of food manufacturers and food labs we go to. And the question then is, what happens from there in terms of the traditional iteration process? So, you know, how do we get, as Leah described, from something that takes 9 months to develop to something that can take 90 days or 9 days? And part of that we see is actually blending the traditional approach with the data-driven approach. So what is lost often in that process around tasting and getting direction on where your next iteration will come from on your new improved product or your new prototype is driving the sensory information back into the data, closing that loop with the sensory information. And more often than not, what we see is that is often divorced from that process. So it's the work of sales and marketing. They get to do the big panels and consumer vetting and consumer research panels, and the tasting that we do informally in the food lab that I described to you is often driven by the strongest personality in the room, or in some cultures which are hierarchical, the head of the department will drive the development. And what we lose is the input of others. So where we see the power of AI and a system like that which AKA has built is bringing sensory data in a much more objective way, much closer to the actual algorithm that one is building and the data models that one is building. And we do that by using digital tools to give people an opportunity to have their say, so to speak, and then the tool becomes the arbitrator. The digital tool becomes the arbitrator and drives that. And that's been a very practical application of using tools. The other point I'll just touch on there, I think that the thinking historically around AI solutions for predictive models and supporting the industry have kind of been very big models very much grounded initially in some machine learning. And what we see in the industry is there is no one model that is going to solve everything. I think if we go back 5 years ago, or you described the Giuseppe example, there was this kind of all-seeing, pervasive model that was going to solve all our problems. And I think where we are today is actually what we need to do is empower technologists and companies and institutions, universities that are doing more cutting edge stuff, to provide them with the framework, an open tool almost, that allows them to place their own knowledge within the platform and then to transform that and that knowledge, which is essentially data that they're creating, to drive the solution. And I think we have to go that route because these industries are typically very conservative, don't want to share their data unless you have something like the campus or the organization that Peter is driving, where there's an agreement to share data and there's a common approach. But if we think of it in terms of the commercial world, there is a need to put something that's open within the hands. So put the tool within the hands of the people that are trying to solve the problem and then drive the data there.
But yeah, I get this, that like the people are scared to share their data, but I don't really get like, how can this help? Because at some point you have to share your data. And do we have to overcome this, or is there any way to, to protect it anyways?
Right. I think that's a great question. I often what I see is the first skepticism or fear we see amongst the product development community that are perhaps less digitally literate or open is, first of all, are you trying to take away my job? And I think, many industries that have been exposed to AI, are you trying to replace me? And I think our approach is very grounded in we're not trying to replace you. We need the human expert in the loop, but we want you to be able to focus on the value-adding target tasks and knowledge that you know, and let the tool provide you with superpowers, so to speak. In terms of the data, I think we're always going to have to respect that people don't want to share data, and I think that's okay. Where we can, if we think of it at a country level, if we take a country that's trying to make itself more competitive, well, then groups and organizations like Food Campus Berlin, Peter, and I please help me with the pronunciation of the organization. Okay, so where these organizations have the ability and the opportunity to create base models or learnings and data that can be shared, that people that come in at the base level of a model. But then the individual organization, using the advances now in agentic approaches, the generative models, can now add on top a layer of their own knowledge. So each organization builds off the base that is there. And for example, in our own labs, we create a lot of data. We're making food products all the time. We're in our sensory labs, we're creating sensory data. Our clients benefit from that base data, but our clients do not get to see each other's data. And I always say to our clients, you have a sponge, which we're placing in your hand. As much as you let absorb into that sponge, the more you're going to get out of that. The more effective your predictive models are going to be, the more quickly you're going to be able to get to the results you want to, and maximize the use of AI and those data tools. And kind of that's where I see that split, Nadine, that organizations, even at a country level, there's some countries we're talking to that are asking us, how do we make our ingredient companies more competitive? How do we make our food companies more competitive using AI? And we want them to first, they almost have to internalize first that not everybody is going to share everything with everybody, and they need to accept that. But what we can do as policymakers and as academic institutions and as these public-private partnerships is we can agree base level of data that gives a lift to the industry. And then it's up to the individual players to use tools like AKA's platform to get to the point where you can be more competitive in and of yourself. I'm not sure if there are examples of that perhaps on the agricultural side in terms of using AI and models like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very interesting also what you're describing, and when I see it in agriculture, I think there we have maybe also more maybe a more really heterogeneous setting from different players from the different companies in the different subsectors of agriculture. And there I also think they are maybe a bit more open to share the data because there are really many small players, and so they are more inclined to share the data. But also they need to have their benefit from sharing their data. So we're actually also part of another project we will start in 1 month. Actually, it's called SEA. It's a common European agricultural data space, and there the idea is that the different players in that sector can place their data products, and also but they have control over it, so they can say what happens with that, maybe also monetize on that. So I think there is really a great opportunity so that you can leverage the different players' data sets to get to a bigger, in the end, as you described, to a bigger data source, and can really create maybe also these foundation models that are really the basis then for the next iterations we need.
But that was like having data stores. That sounds really interesting to me. And monetizing your data, I think that's something we're talking about since we have like IoT and Bitcoin, and everybody's talking about making money with data. But somehow just something came into my mind is, aren't we centralizing data, and couldn't that also be dangerous for the market if like we have one big player in the end, and that big player has all the data, and then what? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah. Yeah, I would say, sorry.
No, carry on, Peter.
I would say federation is the way to go there. So you don't put it in one big pot. So you have just the connectors, and it's like so there you don't give it away in one big silo. I think that's not the solution there.
Yeah, I wondered, Leah, in terms of you've got quite a diverse group of partners that you're building out on the campus. That are, some of them I guess are non-competing. But these connectors that Peter's talking about, there's relevance at different stages of the food value chain, where data could be shared for a common result. Is that something that you see?
So our big market observation is that already many good solutions exist, like your platform, Sal, for example, or what you're working on, Peter. But not everyone is aware of these, and we need more collaboration in order to actually bring these innovations and those sustainable solutions to a scale where they can actually move the needle. So this is what our big mission is, to really foster more collaboration, and that could be between science institutions, with startups, with corporates, with academia, really building all of these bridges and defining areas, and then within the food system transformation, because that's such a huge mega topic, and for example AI, but even within that, AI is a technology that can have so many different applications. So really narrowing down and having, instead of sorry, I'm like switching my thoughts, I'm realizing I'm like jumping back and forth, but back in the day, innovation really happened inside out from companies. They had ideas. You mentioned that, so the R&D people have an idea of how a new product they can formulate, and they put it out on the market. Nowadays, innovation happens outside in. You need inspiration, you need input from all different stakeholders, and in order to actually even have that opportunity to get that inspiration, you need to be able also to share. And our job at the Food Campus is to create a safe space where companies feel comfortable sharing their challenges, sharing their successes, and then learning from each other. Peer-to-peer learning, I believe, is one of the strongest leverages we have, and then of course materializing these learnings into collaborations.
So it's interesting what you're saying about that in terms of the environment you're trying to create within Food Campus, and our conversations with food manufacturers and companies large and small are one of their frustrations, and the thing they are most excited about in terms of AI is not necessarily just the speed piece and the optimization piece and getting there quicker or cheaper or more nutritiously. It's very interesting to see that their interest around AI, and they're seeing that from some of the generative tools that they're using outside of the food context, is actually the ability to retain and transmit information using the semantic reasoning that comes with these large models. And we see this in smaller organizations, which in the case, it's interesting, you're both from Germany, where people talk about a small family business. In Germany, that could also be a multi-billion euro business that is multi-site. I believe you use the term Mittelstand. And there are some that are just multi-generational businesses that are very localized, and there's some that are serious players throughout the industry in the world. And there's a serious challenge in terms of how do I retain firstly my IP, my knowledge within product development, and how do I transmit that to others? And historically, that's happened peer-to-peer with people. And now what we're seeing with the new innovations that are available in generative tools is that if we apply that to our own corporate knowledge base or our Mittelstand or family business knowledge base, typically when the founder is the one that invented the product or has the technical know-how, and the next generation are more focused on the commercial aspects, we can actually retain that knowledge. And we come across organizations that are multi-site global players, where often two separate teams in different parts of the world are trying to solve the same problem, not knowing that the other parts of the organization are struggling with it or have solved the problem previously. As much as we have email, internet, all manner of chat tools and the rest, often what one really needs is a way just to say, have we done this before? Did we do something similar? And how do I get to that answer quickly? And often those that are most effective in product development are not necessarily the most brilliant scientists, but often they're the people that can connect within multi-site organizations. And we see a lot of power in AI to be able to support that. And we've got some, examples that are now running where we see this happening, which for me is a very exciting space in terms of a practical challenge around collaboration. And it'd be interesting to explore afterwards with Julia, even in the campus, how you're going to approach that exchange of information.
Yeah, I think sometimes.
Yeah.
Sorry, Leah. No, please go ahead.
I couldn't agree more. There is knowledge to be shared within different organizations, but there's also a wealth of knowledge that exists already within one organization, and that is a hidden treasure that many times in many companies is not leveraged yet. So historical information from the companies. Speaking of experience, I've worked in one of those Mittelstands companies you mentioned. I was leading their food tech investments, and I started from scratch with every DD, everything I did, and then through conversations I had, I always found out, okay, actually someone within the company has been exploring that before. And every other day I got like new snippets and pieces where I realized I wish I would just have one central platform where just keyword based, I type them in and it's internal anyway. And then at least it doesn't even have to share the information, but give me the name of the person who I can contact. So I couldn't agree more. Thank you for bringing that.
This is like centralized information, which is a really nice approach. Although, Peter, just one thing, you're based in Austria, right? Just to keep this right.
Yes.
And AgriFood TEF is an EU organization and a collaboration of different EU countries. And now, looking at the clock, we only have 6 minutes left. We've talked about the potential of AI. What are the limitations actually? Because I can't keep thinking about, you know, sharing. Yeah, and it's always, I always have this lovely vision of people sharing everything and we're all good together, but people aren't working this way. So what are the limitations of AI, and where do you think we're heading at? What's going to be 2025? What's the next big thing? Leah, you want to start?
I can start, yes. So I believe, I mean, AI is not a silver bullet yet. It still has some limitations in terms of the contextual understanding, ethical decision-making, etc. So there is still some room for improvement. Nonetheless, we are still, you know, in the early phase. So you said 2050, or what did you say? 2020. Anyway,
I said 2025. We are in 2025. Yeah, like this year, and then maybe, but also 2050.
Well, it's moving that quick. It's moving that quickly that it really is. Looking to the future is what 2025 is going to bring us. Yeah.
Exactly. I was going to say we can't even look beyond with AI development. You know, there are AI scientists that said from Google that said in 2023 certain things would never be possible, and then see 5 months later they were possible. So I'm not the AI expert. I can say a bit about food within AI, but I 100% believe that many of the challenges we currently have will be solved within the next months, if not next 2 or 3 years. But where I believe the real limitation is us humans, because humans are not AI models. We are not rational. We are very emotionally driven, and I believe it's how we as humans leverage AI. Is it only for efficiency? Then I believe it's totally fine. But will we move into a state where we as humans stop thinking critically ourselves, where we become dumber or instead of smarter? And I believe AI really has the power to make us smarter, because it could come up with new creations that us humans would not have thought of, and can make us more efficient. But yeah, finding a balance in terms of how we use AI as an enhancer and not as a replacement.
Peter, how about you? What is more? Sorry.
Yeah. So I think from the limitation point of view, I think we already talked about like data, and I also think that we have really often when we see it in practical on the field, there are many edge cases which still need to be solved. So like situations where these systems fail, so you really need to, so the last 2% to really get to the convincing result. These are really challenging things we need still to solve. And I also think from a methodological point of view, how these systems work, I think there is room for improvement, also to maybe get to less data intensive approaches. And what I see, especially in agriculture, is the combination with robotics as a huge potential, and I think it will be the driver of the next wave we see in that sector.
Great. All right, I'll try to do this quickly. I think the way I see it, especially, and if I focus on the area where we are focused, is new product development and supporting the folks that are doing that challenging job. I think we have to think of it in this context. The food product development expert that's been doing something in a narrow field for 15, 20, 25, 30 years, and there are a few of those folks still left in the food industry. AI is going to take them, they can get to the 90% in a new product very quickly, and AI is going to help them get the last 10% even more effectively. And the knowledge that they have as individuals can now be retained within the business and transmitted. For the individual that hasn't been in the business 30 years, but has been there 30 months, AI can get them the first 90% of the way very quickly, and that last 10% they can then bring their own knowledge to. But nobody is going to get anywhere unless they organize their data first. And that's the train that's leaving. That's the train that if companies, countries, organizations in the food industry want to be competitive, and perhaps it's the same for agriculture, you have to get your data organized first. And it doesn't matter how big you are, how large or small as an organization. An organized spreadsheet is not necessarily does not necessarily mean you're ready for AI. In fact, it could even complicate things for you. So you need to think about those tools, whether it's something like we produce at AKA Foods to curate your data well and then leverage AI, or others. And I think organizations really need to be thinking about that data piece soon.
Thank you so much, guys, for all your insights and your knowledge you shared today. I definitely, again, have been updated on AI. Thank you out there for listening, and please join next time on 10th of April when we're going to talk about personalized nutrition. And I guess there are very, very many spots where AI could help there as well. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.